All right, what's up, guys? It's driverless car time here in San Francisco. I'm gonna hop into one of these. I don't want to close the back door until I open the front door, but here we go. Casper driving time. I know a lot of you don't have the courage to do this, but I certainly do. I have to give myself more leg room, but we're good. Why don't we start the ride?
Heading to Dolphin Swimming and Boating Club. Please make sure
You heard where we're going. I don't want to get called by customer support again, so I'm going to put my seatbelt on, and we're going to go, and we're going to talk 49ers. We are all set. Beautiful. What a day. What a day. Before the rain comes here in San Francisco, right? So we are going, the wheel is turning, and the driver has taken control. So awesome. Well, you know, the thing that I wanted to talk about today is this is to be expected with a Super Bowl loss. It is, I mean, when you climb the mountain, when you have put so much energy and effort into reaching a goal and you don't get it by the narrowest of margins, so that's losing the Super Bowl, and then the 49ers lost the Super Bowl in absolutely devastating fashion, obviously. Always take a look at the first turn here. That's what we're dealing with right now. All right, good. We've made it. But whenever that happens, it's going to be so insufferably scrutinized. People aren't going to be seeing the big picture at all. They're not going to be looking at overall efficiency or whatever. They're going to look at every single little thing that they think might have changed something about the outcome. And some of the things are absolutely worth, I think, determining, or some of these things are absolutely worth examining. But some, especially as time goes along, become so ridiculously nitpicky and just not flat out not true that it's like, guys, what are you even doing here? There are so many things that we can productively discuss about this Super Bowl for the 49ers, but George Kittle not seeing a fumble behind him because he was executing his job trying to block George Karlaftis is not one of them. And, you know, this quickly separates our knowledge of those who have played sports and those who haven't played sports. Anybody who thinks that George Kittle, and by the way, for background, I think this was through the CW show Inside the NFL, where the players are mic'd up. For background, Christian McCaffrey fumbled on the first drive. George Kittle's job on the play was to block George Karlaftis. So he's blocking George Karlaftis, and as George Karlaftis had already given up on the play, wasn't trying to tackle Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle was face guarding him. He was facing him to make sure that he wouldn't get back in on the play to try to tackle Christian McCaffrey. And at that moment, George Kittle said, "Hi, George." George Kittle was just doing one of his greetings that he does all the time on the football field. That's when the fumble occurred. And because Karlaftis was facing the fumble just by natural flow of the play and George Kittle wasn't facing the fumble, because of that, we saw George Karlaftis able to go recover the fumble. Then George Kittle awkwardly stuck his arm into the whole mix. It looked like he could have hurt his shoulder on that play. Still, it was a football play. George Kittle did everything that he possibly could have done while executing his football assignment on the play. His job is to not take his eyes off George Karlaftis because that's the man that he's supposed to block. Sometimes shit happens. Pardon my language, but people need to accept this fact and stop being crybabies. I mean, the amount of just whining that I see on the internet, oh, George Kittle didn't want it, he wasn't in the right mentality. It is like, shut up. Shut up and learn just a bit. Just learn a tiny bit about competitive sports and assignments on the field. And the fact that you just can't change just because you feel a certain way and are upset about the Super Bowl doesn't mean that you can find every little thing that might make you feel better to blame and use that to make you somehow validated in your anger over the Super Bowl. Life doesn't work that way. Sometimes stuff in life just doesn't work out. And that's the gist of what a heavyweight battle like the Super Bowl was. There's a winner, there's a loser. Both teams made mistakes. One team ends up happy. One team leaves devastated. That's football. That's life. You move on. But the need to microanalyze everything to the point where an obviously good play from George Kittle, he blocked George Karlaftis, is turned into something that it isn't, is absolutely ridiculous. And at some point, like, this talk has to be checked, because so many people, I feel, are trying to go get their clicks through this kind of stuff. So many people are going and trying to get their views through this kind of stuff. And it's just not reality. It's just not how the game works. George Kittle did nothing wrong on the play. He executed everything that he should have within the scope of his assignment. And saying hi to a guy on the field while he's doing that did absolutely nothing to change the way that he was doing his job. So that is the ridiculous part of today. I'm glad that this particular... There's a guy on with a Niners jersey in that trolley. I just saw his big Niners jacket. Whoa. This guy almost crashed into us. Driverless car did a good job making sure that we did not crash into this guy. See this guy in front of me? Not a great driver. This right here, I see a good driver. I see a much better driver than the guy in front of me. Anyway, we're staying safe here. Human drivers tend not to react as quickly as you'd want them to sometimes. And sometimes they behave very, very irrationally. The Kittle thing is just the latest. And there was something about Fred Warner talking crap about Travis Kelce on the sideline. Or, going back even further, the 49ers talking about Patrick Mahomes on the sideline. It's like, guys, have you ever been on a football sideline? Maybe you haven't. Some of these people that are saying this stuff, they're outing themselves as having been there. Guys have to get themselves into a headspace to play. This is not an easy sport to invest yourself in. So of course you're going to be talking some smack on the sideline. You even talk smack straight to the guy on the field. That's part of the football game. It is an alternative mindset that you do have to get yourself in. So fans and even journalists, just people, content creators that are micro-analyzing mic'd up clips from the Super Bowl, the most intense football game in the world that there is. That's the trolley with the 49ers fan, by the way. Can't see him anymore. He was on the right side. But people that are micro-analyzing that stuff, do you not understand this happens every single week with every single game? Do you not understand that there are words exchanged on the field, that there are fumbles every week, that some weeks they're going to go to your team, some weeks they're not? The thing about the Super Bowl is that we take out this magnifying glass and everything is made to be a bigger deal than it actually is. When at the end of the day, just accept the fact that two great teams played. The 49ers made their share of mistakes. The Chiefs made their share of mistakes. And ultimately, the team that had the longer end of the stick by the time that everything was said and done was the Kansas City Chiefs. It is gut-wrenching for the 49ers, but there is no other fair way to put it. And sometimes you just have to live with your anger. You have to live with your sadness if you're a fan and realize that's the way it is, that sometimes life really isn't fair. And guess what? The 49ers, I think players who have much better perspective on all this than a lot of fans do, what they're going to do is they're just going to start working again. And next season will begin. This too shall pass. And you try to win in the next season. If the Chicago Cubs were able to win a World Series in 2016, after however long it had been, right, since they had done anything, if they were finally able to break through, if the Red Sox were finally able to break through in 2004, guess what? The 49ers' 30-year drought, which it's going to be 30 years, is going to end at some point. They're going to be ready to kick the door down at some point. I think they were ready to kick it down this year, but they didn't get the luck that they needed to this year. So it happens. Kyle Shanahan doesn't need to be held accountable. Kyle Shanahan has built a good team. He's put a team in position to win a Super Bowl. Ultimately, they will. Maybe it won't be under Kyle Shanahan anymore. Maybe it's going to be another 30 years. I don't know, but it's sports. You don't know which year it's going to happen. You don't know if you're going to get your hearts ripped out decade after decade like the Red Sox or the Cubs. It's one of those things where you just have to wait and see what's going to happen. Look, we got City Hall. They're no longer lighting it up in red and gold because 49ers season is over. But Shanahan has been able to win big games. He just hasn't won the big one yet. And it's not a case of he can't. It's a case of he hasn't. I don't see why it's so hard to delineate between those two things. All right, I got 12 minutes until I'm at the Dolphin Club. This is my normal route up Franklin. There's not a lot of traffic today, so it looks like we may make this pretty quickly. We're operating on the green wave heading up. So let me know if you guys have any questions. I'm going to get into the water. I'm going to swim before this day is said and done. Trying to get the pre-storm swim in while the light is still out too. So the pre-darkness swim in and go from there. Andy Reid lost a lot before he won. Andy Reid didn't win until year 21. So, I mean, some of you are just emotional. It's okay to be emotional, but don't force emotionally charged takes, which aren't good takes, onto everybody else. It's one of the issues now, with social media. Everybody can put their take out there and it can be amplified. And it's like, guys, this isn't the reality of the situation. Shanahan's a good coach. The 49ers are a really good team. They're going to have another shot at this next year. It's a devastating loss, but part of life is picking yourself up and dealing with adversity and moving forward. So much entitlement these days. Like, my team needs to win now, or this guy's a choker. It's like, okay, so are 31 out of 32 coaches in the NFL chokers? It's the only guy that's going to be worth anything, the guy that actually wins at the end of the year? Because that's not how it works. The coach of the year wasn't Andy Reid this year, even though he's the one that won the Super Bowl. It's absolutely not how it works. A lot of the people that say out-coach too, you don't even know what coaching means. You don't even know what the word out-coaching would entail. You'll say something stupid like, oh, play calling. And then it'd be like, okay, show me where a certain play should have been run to schematically expose the defense on an overloaded side or whatever. As soon as the details start, of course, those people will stop talking. Or they'll say something that doesn't make any sense within the context of football details. It's not a sport for whiners. It really isn't. It isn't a sport to sit around whining this way, that way. George Kittle should have done that. George Kittle should have jumped on a fumble. George Kittle shouldn't have been talking on the field. It's just not reality. So I'm waiting for some actual legitimate questions. Let's talk about actual football. Let's talk about actual schematics. And we'll get going. The funny thing, somebody named Larry said, play until you hear the whistle. George Kittle was playing until the whistle. His job was to take George Karlaftis out of the play. So his job is to face George Karlaftis and make sure that Karlaftis cannot get in on that play. Once the ball is fumbled, all bets are off. The criticism on that play belongs with Christian McCaffrey. He's the one that actually fumbled. So I don't hear people talking about the guy who actually fumbled, but there's perspective there too. Christian McCaffrey is a fantastic player who makes one mistake, so maybe people are handling that one a little bit more correctly. But jumping on George Kittle for not recovering a fumble when he was doing his job elsewhere on the football field is patently ridiculous. It's just saying, you might as well just put a big sign up in front of your house saying, I don't know football, if you're complaining about that. Okay, fine. Complain about it, but also let us make sure that we all know and think we do based on your take that you don't know the game. Now we're in a traffic jam. Not looking good on Franklin Street. This guy in front of me, he's blocking the intersection. Two guys blocking the intersection. What's going to happen to them? Because they're about to get a green light on Jackson. Yeah, got a little bit of a honk. He's getting out of the way now. Don't block the intersection. It's not cool. Make sure that you can get across before the light turns red. Thoughts on Steve Wilks' situational play calling? Well, it doesn't really matter anymore. Steve Wilks has been fired. I know Kyle Shanahan wasn't happy about something on that final drive. I mean, situational play calling, the one glaring example that was bad from Steve Wilks this year was that when he called cover 0 with 17 seconds to go in the half against the Vikings. That was brutal. Lost the 49ers a game. Didn't cost them anything because they got the number 1 seed anyway. But I think that was the moment where things really started to slide downhill for Steve Wilks. He didn't have a good run defense, and I think that was, on the big picture, what ultimately did him in. And that run defense, those struggles really started showing up on the stat sheet against Cleveland in week 6. First 5 weeks, the 49ers blew everybody out, so it wasn't a big deal, right? The run defense wasn't something that I think showed up in the stat sheet because they were blowing teams out and teams couldn't run against them. But once it got close against Cleveland in week 5, and the Browns, without a legitimate quarterback, were able to run against the 49ers, I think that's when we started seeing the first cracks in Steve Wilks' defense. And I wrote about it that week. Week 7 against Minnesota, they struggled against the run again, and the situational coaching was really bad when he called that cover 0. That wasn't good. Then week 8, terrible against Cincinnati. That was bad on all fronts. They fixed some stuff over the bye, but I think Shanahan, when he moved Wilks down from the booth to the field, that was Shanahan's way of taking control of the defense again. He said, I thought that Wilks could come in and run our system the way that we wanted to be run with his own tweaks, but it didn't seem like it was working. There was an obvious disconnect there, so Shanahan really seemed like he was taking matters into his own hands. I don't know how much play calling responsibility he overtook. I don't know if he took over play calling responsibility in the Super Bowl. That stuff might come out in the future, but he definitely, that was a power move when he told Steve Wilks to get back down on the field, because Wilks had, before the year, had said he preferred being upstairs. So you're making a coach go against his preference if you were Kyle Shanahan in that situation. All right, here we go. Another turn. On to Vallejo. Chuck's Flavor Train is from Vallejo. Big 49ers fan. Big social media guy. Look at that. We took our time being safe getting around that guy, but now we hit a red light on Van Ness. So yeah, Chuck's Flavor Train. Big 49ers fan. He's a star online. He's a food star online. He grills and cooks and does all this good stuff. I ran into him and head of the NFC Championship game. If you guys think that we should collaborate with Chuck's Flavor Train, not Flux, with Chuck's Flavor Train, give us a thumbs up in the comment section. Do I think the new defensive coordinator is going to be empowered to do what they want? I think it depends on who they hire. If they bring in a Belichick, then obviously Belichick is going to have a lot more power than if you bring in somebody like Aaron Curry, who I think, they might want that younger defensive coordinator who they can verse in the system, who they find to be a bright football mind. That was Robert Saleh brought the system, and then DeMeco Ryans perpetuated the system, became a head coach. If they go with that mold, then yeah, they're going to run the same old system with whatever tweaks develop naturally. But if they go with a veteran mind, if they go with somebody like Brandon Staley or Bill Belichick, then I think it's going to look different. Who in college can they bring in as DT? They could bring in Danton Lynn, Anthony Lynn's son. That would be I think that's kind of the hot name out of the young up and coming coaches who are in college. But if you're going to go experience name, bringing his own stamp in, I think if you're Kyle Shanahan, you don't want to give the keys to the Ferrari to somebody who hasn't driven a Ferrari yet. You can't drive a Ferrari in college. You can only drive a Ferrari in the National Football League. There is no college coach, college defensive coordinator who has the appropriate experience to get that job done. It would be a big time roll of the dice. That's all that I would have to say if you brought in a college coordinator. You'd really have to make sure it was all in the straight and narrow as far as having a coach who acclimated and assimilated to the system. That's why they tried to do to Steve Wilks last year, but he was a veteran. Let's see how we manage this. Look at this. We got somebody who's double parking in front of us. Oh, they're actually trying to park right there. And we have to turn left. So, yeah, look, we're managing it well. We're inching around That's actually, no, it's just a double park job. That's a total double. Well, I think that was an Uber driver. So we've got to make this left turn here. Obviously, you got some moving trucks right there. I think those guys are just parked. So hopefully we can make this left turn without issue. The AI of the car has to be smart enough to realize that these trucks are just stationary. And I think we indeed have realized that. Perfect. That's pretty damn cool that the car can notice that. We're now on Restaurant Row. This is my favorite part of the drive. We're going to be going down Hyde Street for Shoddy. Good spot on the left. Seven Hills. Seven Hills is legit Italian food. For Shoddy right there is good too. And there's another driverless car. We can say hi. And now we could say hi to the cable car. Going down Hyde Street. Right by Union Larder, which I really love. There's the cable car. They're waving to us. That's good. They like the show. Friends of the show on the cable car. There, Swenson's Ice Cream. If you ever go here, they've got really good Turkish coffee ice cream. Get the Turkish coffee ice cream if you ever go to Swenson's. Hell, I might have to go after I go swimming. I might have to take a cable car up the hill after I'm out of the bay today. I am going to Dolphin Club. That is correct. This is Hyde Street. This is not Van Ness. I'm giving you guys a cable car ride right now. Uh-oh. Oh, we made it around them. Good. City looking nice today. It's unfortunately been overcast because of the storm system coming in, but you know, you can see down to North Beach here. We're going to look down Lombard Street in just a second. It's at the top of this hill. There are a lot of tourists here. We hit the brakes a little suddenly there because of these tourists that are jaywalking. This is Lombard. Yeah, go ahead. They're taking pictures of me, not because of me, but because I'm in the driverless car. See you guys. There's Lombard Street. Lombard hosting Lombardi. We can tack an eye onto the name after the 49ers finally win a trophy again. Look at this guy trying to run the light. Unbelievable. Or the stop sign. There's some bad human drivers. There's the water I'm going to be swimming in. There's Ghirardelli Square. There's the Golden Gate Bridge. Aziz Al-Shire might be on his way back to San Francisco. You know, Aziz Al-Shire was... This is one of the questions. Aziz Al-Shire, I think it was before the Packers game, was part of the 49ers linebacker huddle before the game. You saw Aziz come back. You saw Solomon Thomas come back. And now with Dre Greenlaw having undergone Achilles surgery and a long recovery ahead, I think it absolutely would make sense to bring Aziz Al-Shire back to San Francisco to be the second linebacker for possibly to begin the season. That was a weakness this year. The third linebacker spot wasn't nearly as good as it had been in the past. Why not go? It's for the TD instead of the field goal in overtime. Well, I mean, it wasn't an easy decision. I think at some point you believe that your defense can get a stop, right? I mean, it's not 100% guaranteed that Patrick Mahomes is going to score. He's got a good track record. He's a great quarterback. I get it. But the 49ers defense had shut people down to close games before. I think the issue, you know, is multifaceted across the whole roster. And this could go back to the top of the video where, you know, people are struggling and they're trying to blame individual things. They're trying to blame George Kittle. They're trying to blame Kyle Shanahan. Guys, there were issues that didn't go the 49ers way across the entire board. There were also issues that didn't go the Chiefs way across the entire board. At the end of the day, the Chiefs win. But when you look at the big picture of the 49ers defense, that dropped from number 1 to number 12 this season. They weren't quite as strong as they had been in the past. And I think that compromised their ability to deliver in the clutch. The fact that the defense wasn't quite as good meant that they did give up a lot of yards and a lot of points down the stretch of this football game. And maybe Kyle Shanahan should have coached with that in mind. Maybe he should have said, okay, my defense is cooked. I'm going to go for the touchdown on 4th down. But he didn't. And in hindsight, it obviously is something that he probably would have gone back and changed and done differently. But you can't coach with hindsight. You coach in the moment, and in the moment, that's what the 49ers did. Let's see if we can get around this cable car. Sometimes we can't. Sometimes I have to get sometimes this is where I have to get out of the driverless car because it won't go around this cable car. We're doing a good job. We're going around it. Good. So we've made it to the Buena Vista Cafe. That's the home of Irish coffees. So those of you who are watching me during the Super Bowl, during the build-up of the Super Bowl, after I thought I would almost die on the flight to Las Vegas, I was given the history of the Irish coffee. And I talked about crash landing in Ireland and how Stanton Delaplane, the San Francisco Chronicle travel writer, did the same thing. And he met somebody at the Shannon airport and he told him to make him a combination of coffee and alcohol. And they made an Irish coffee. And then Stan Delaplane came back and he opened this place, the Buena Vista. And the bartender at the Shannon airport who made him the Irish coffee moved to San Francisco and helped him open the Buena Vista Cafe. So the best Irish coffees in the world, and quite arguably the original ones, can be found here at the Buena Vista Cafe, as you can see, with a view of the Golden Gate Bridge. And also a view of the cable cars. Look at these tourists trying to run in front of the cable car on their bikes. That's not smart. Here comes the cable car. That's the Transamerica Pyramid on the cable car. There are some tourists. They're afraid as it goes up the hill. They're in for a nice fun treat though. Hope it's going to be worth the $9 or the $10 that they paid for the cable car. Meanwhile, well, I paid a little bit for this car, so I guess I can't make fun of people paying for the cable car. It is fun to hang out the side of the cable car, I'll say that much. We're rolling up to the Dolphin Club. That's South End. This is Dolphin. Oh, we got 49ers fans.
Bang, bang.
All right, guys. I've made it. Dolphin Club, we're here. Boom. We're looking for a place to park. I guess we're gonna get a nice view of the Golden Gate Bridge as I do park. All right, guys, everybody take care. Thanks for joining the show. I'm about to go swim. This water right here, that's where it's gonna be. Everybody take care.